Good morning. Sunday is the weekly update. Start off with the pound. Did a midweek update on Thursday after all the announcements around Brexit. Already know that I don't normally get involved because it's just okie dokie trading, and who knows what the next piece of news is going to be. It seemed like it might be a little bit more potentially directional, as we had a slump on Thursday morning, and then yesterday effectively we were back in okie dokie mode, so we didn't really do very much. However, on the intraday chart it shows up a little clearer, and I was talking about the potential breakdown on that news, so in this area here, and then it didn't really do it, and what I wanted to see was a failure at that breakdown point. Now we did get it very early on, about lunchtime on Thursday, and then we came back to it Friday morning, and we failed a few times again without much of a pullback, and then we've just popped above it. More significantly, what was the breakdown point has run out of time, and it's moved to the lows of the trend, and so that means that effectively the trade's over. It hasn't really developed. You say, okay, I've been in it for a day and a half, 2 days, not really getting anywhere, so you get out. It also means that it's opened up some space to rally, but looking at the news, I try to avoid Brexit because it's the most boring thing in the world, but it looks like we're going to get a continuation of in, out, in, out, in, out. So for now, out of that trade, leaving it alone. Let's go back to historical, and we'll just look at the euro pound, because I also talked about that and the fact that it can't ever sustain the breaks. So I'm just going to push this together a little bit more. We had a big expansion on Thursday morning. I said that that weekly level could shift if we took out 88.52, so obviously it has, so it's moved up to 89.41. If I go intraday though, what we have here is the breakout that occurred on Thursday. We dipped back to the breakout point, went a little bit below it at 88.40, and now we've gone above. So the euro pound has got a little bit more legs on it. Decent support at 88.24 to 88.40, so you don't want it starting to hold value below that zone, because then that would place us all back in sideways again. Let's go back to the dollar index, and we had a breakout the week before. It took out that monthly level, and then we've sort of just drifted backwards, and effectively we closed pretty much on that level. So if we make a daily close below it, a little bit more than 3 ticks, then it places us back in sideways, but got some really decent supports here at 95.00 to 94.47, which are weekly levels. For it to maintain its bullishness, it's really got to get a grip pretty early on, and then that would open up that 101.49. If I look intraday, you can see where it's in a little bit of trouble. Things moved up, condensed into this area here, and then we've held below it late in the day, really, or that's the afternoon, early evening. 95.48 is a very important support point, although it's a decent amount away. Resistance has also dropped, 97.24, so make a daily close above there. That would be the point where we would go, right, fine, the uptrend is restarting. Onto the euro. The converse, obviously, of the dollar index, it's formed some daily support at this week's lows, still have this big level at 116.17. I spoke a few weeks ago about how this level has generally been ignored, but then was respected. We edged lower again. On an intraday basis, condensed, taken out the top 115.00 is it's also an option place, isn't it? Because it's a round number, so you'd actually expect it, if it's going to be defended, it's going to stop a little bit earlier. That binary options don't have to close above levels, they just have to trade at them. So 115 will be defended fairly rigorously, I would have thought, probably a few ticks above it. Let's go to the yen. Let's just do the Aussie, so it's a bit more interesting. Talked about pound Aussie, and the reason for the pound Aussie was because the Australian dollar itself what we have here is the breakdown point, or sorry, the breakout point, which was at 71.59. we went above it, we had a negative, said that we don't take any interest of it because it's got to hold below that key level, and of course it held, and then we've recovered back up. Intraday, also having formed some support, it's broken out of the top. So the Aussie remains positive, definitely the best one to be involved in. 72.98 is an important support. Ideally, on any pullback, we hold price there. Go to the Kiwi. Right, so on the Kiwi, 68.77, 68.62, very important point. Closed just above it. I'd like to see a little bit more really, but also positive if it can hold there. So definitely Aussie and Kiwi are doing the best. We'll move intraday, and that's probably also breaking out of the top, I would imagine. Yes, there's a very old level. Yep, that's correct. So a similar story to the Aussie. Dollar yen. Really, in terms of levels, for me, then it's a little bit in no man's land. Everything is miles away. There was a negative on Tuesday. This is purely a timing signal. It's a little bit complicated to explain. I normally like to see it with something else at the same time or within a day or two. So on its own, it's a warning sign for those that might be long. It's not necessarily enough to get short, and it's not at a resistance anyway. If I do the futures was a little bit different because the original negative, because futures is converse, it's brought us down, and we had come down to a weekly support. We have different levels on futures and spot because we have volume, so there's more levels to hang on to, as it were. So it was enough to say thank you very much. You have to be highly aggressive to say that you were going to get involved. Only if you really had to would that be the case. But it's a decent support, so really what you're doing is you're referencing the futures a little bit more than what you are the spot. Let's do CAD futures, last one. And yes, there was a signal on Thursday. We had a very minor signal at the daily support in very quiet conditions, and then the diamond indicates to me that the previous downtrend has now ended, but we've got a very condensed level above, so it's not overly interesting. Okay, we'll leave it there. Takeaways are early dollar action is pretty important because we're right at that monthly level. Aussie dollar and Kiwi look the best, but you've got to need a little bit more follow through from the Kiwi early on. Okay, thank you.